enjoyed that panel. For those of you who don't know, I actually have done a lot of consulting in the space these last 7 or so years. First piece of advice, people always wonder, what's the most important thing? Find the right lawyers. So those are a bunch of good ones. Also, shout out to our sponsor, Revelis Wahab, another pro attorney in the space. But now I am very excited for this next very special announcement from the two founders of RedStone, Marcin and Jakub. And this is special to me because for most of you, you know that I started a company called STM back in 2018. Tokenizethis is one of those products that came out of it. We also did a podcast for 6 years, lots of research. I like to call myself the biggest cheerleader for tokenization. And actually starting last year, but earlier this year, we had to make a very big decision of who do we want to partner up with for the future? And no better partner came to us than RedStone, who is a global top oracle in the space, but they also have a variety of other products related to RWAs. And now we're going to hear something very special. So welcome on stage, please, the founders of RedStone, Marcin and Jakub.
All right. Hey everyone, I hope you're still energized at Tokenize This. Maybe let me start with a big thank you for coming over, showing up, and making the 4th edition of Tokenize This the largest so far. We're extremely proud to welcome you all here in New York City, have the full 3-day conference, and I hope you're going to find it interesting and useful. We do appreciate you choosing it over the World Cup, which I bet is also entertaining, but hopefully over here you're going to find quite a few surprises as well. I'm Marcin, one of the co-founders at RedStone. Jakub is the technical founder. And today we are going to talk about scaling RWAs to trillions of dollars. So the RWA expansion is a process. It doesn't happen over the 1 or 2 years, as everyone in this room knows. We've entered the RWA decade with scaling the market cap of RWAs in 2024 to $5 billion, and in 2025 to already crossing 21 billion. I would like to ask everyone in the room, and please help me with raising your hand, who has ever from you holded an RWA asset yourself or your company did? Please raise your hand. Oh, wow, interesting. I would say it's probably like 15 to 20% of the room. I expected more, so there is a lot of scaling for us to come. According to the EY and Coinbase institutional survey of asset managers, 64% of them want to tokenize their asset, up from 40% in 2025. The survey happened in the beginning of the year. 63% want to allocate to tokenized assets. Even more interestingly, 3 out of 4 plan to increase their digital asset allocation this year. So I believe the argument about the demand is gone. Now it's only the question about when and how we are going to go parabolic and what's actually stopping us from going to trillions. So Larry Fink said that he has a very strong conviction that we are at the beginning of tokenizing of all assets, from real estate through equities, bonds, and many other classes out there. Right now, RWAs are at about north of $30 billion, where 45% contributes money market funds. Commodities are about 22%, with private credit around 20%. And right now, we see enormous expansion of tokenized equities with the recent launch of SpaceX IPO, naturally. And we are going to see that throughout the year with Anthropic, OpenAI, and the other big launches. What the Genius Act did for stablecoins is that they have never dropped below $300 billion once they reached that point in October of last year, even though the market cap of crypto declined in general. And they're right now at all-time high of 315. What we are waiting for right now is the signal of the Clarity Act advancing through the Senate and then going through. And this can be a tremendous moment. In my opinion, 10x or maybe even 100x the effect of Genius, because there is just the variety of asset classes that can come on chain and the variety of asset allocators that then can allocate into those kind of materials. But the blockers are real. The first one in the survey that people mentioned with 67% is the compliance and reporting. So what is going to be the actual operational burden once I have the asset like under my bookkeeping? How can I report? How can I make sure the reconciliation works well and the data is accurate? The second challenge with 59% of respondents is the integration challenges. So tokenized assets still cannot communicate freely with legacy systems. The synchronization is always the problem. And the NAV and data usually lives in some old school systems. Third is insufficient secondary liquidity. So allocators are afraid that secondary markets will disallow them to exit their positions like freely. But these are orchestration problems. And as RedStone, orchestration is our specialty. Connecting off and on-chain wallets is what we've been doing so far for the past 6 years. We secured over $10 billion in assets on-chain and across over 110 chains with zero mispricing of downtime events. We are the primary and official partner of Securitize, supported their expansion of BlackRock Biddle, Hamilton Lane Scope, VanEck Vibble, Apollo Acred, and many other tokenized funds. Now we work with the tokenized equities, which gave us a lot of experience and practical knowledge how to help institutions go on-chain. We also do research regularly. I highly recommend scanning the QR code over here about the tokenization report that we published recently. It's over 2 months of research that we've done within that scope, which showcases we don't only sit on the theory, but combine the theory and practical knowledge. So now I would like to pass to Jakub to talk a little bit more about solutions to those kind of problems.
Hi guys, super excited to be here. And let me tell you more about how do we actually tokenize all of that. So in our view, tokenization is not a single act of deploying assets on-chain. It's a complex, multi-stage process. So after pushing all of the assets on-chain, there's a challenge of managing the liquidity on blockchain. So we can get all of the benefits of presence there. And obviously, there is a need for monitoring and reporting back, both for the compliance needs, but also how to optimize the process, learn, and iterate. And RedStone offers a full package. We can support you at every stage. We can give you tools that are compatible, so you can pick a single vendor, and we can assist you along the way. And the first stage, tokenization. So we provide a lot of data on-chain. And providing a single piece of information on blockchain is pretty trivial. I can bet that any of you can vibe code over a weekend a solution that will put a piece of data on public chain like Ethereum. It's something super easy, but doing that at scale is very tricky. Like doing that 24/7, doing that with 100% uptime, doing that for thousands of assets is a huge engineering challenge. And we got to practice with that over the last 5 years. We've been doing that without any hiccups. And I checked yesterday, we've just pushed 50 million of data points across 70 chains without any issues. And also there is a question, what should be put on chain and in which manner? For example, recently the hottest topic in the space is equities tokenization. And if you do it in a naive way, if you put, let's say, a single venue, NASDAQ, price data about every equity that is listed there every second, but only during the trading hours, the cost is going to be $50 billion per year. So that's not the bill we want to send to the tokenizer. You need to do it in a smart way, updating data only when it's needed and only when it brings value. The second stage is managing on-chain liquidity. So when you deploy assets on-chain, it's not the end of the race. It's just the beginning. It's too early to open a champagne because you can miss out all of the benefits on the on-chain presence, like usage as a collateral, deployment on secondary markets, so you can have better price discovery and liquidity, or connecting to other protocols. So you can create a structured product, or you can use it as a part of fund of funds. And in order to do that, there's some friction left. That's why only 10% of assets is being actively used in DeFi. So we are still at the very beginning, and the friction is mostly connected to settlement. Like right now, it's pretty tricky to settle a real-world asset. You need a KYC, you need AML, you need to have a good engine of instant redemptions, and that's where we also invested in a proper tooling. So we work pretty closely with Morpho, how we can offer real-time settlements, and also how we can offer more efficient liquidations. So when the assets are on-chain, we can get the most of the process. And the third stage is with monitoring and reporting. Interestingly, it's an area when 70% of time of fund managers is being spent. It's an important step, often overlooked. And in order to do it on-chain, you need a good indexing what happens on the blockchain. And we provide that. Over last few years, we've been indexing multiple chains, different formats, different structures, and we can package everything in a very familiar format so we can connect that to your existing backend systems, and you can use it for reporting. And being honest, that the weakest point of blockchain is usability. The interface is terrible. And in our view, you don't need to have a PhD in distributed system to understand like what happens to your assets. So we built a tool that we called Navigate that helps you to discover what's the landscape of the on-chain assets. For example, where are they deployed? How much is on the lending markets? What's the secondary market liquidity? How the assets are being moved? What's the velocity? Who are the holders, etc. And most importantly, we are providing an actionable insight, whether it works or not, whether the tokenization strategy brings in the new users, helps with distribution, or if the assets are sitting idle. And all of that might be a bit abstract, but let me give you a concrete use case, like how to put everything together. So we work with amazing partners, Securitize, Spyco, when we power the tokenization with data about NAV, and then we cooperate with curators. So they are the entities responsible for placing assets on chain, such as Gauntlet, Centaura, and others. And the assets are mostly being used on lending markets like Morpho and Spark as a collateral, so we can get extra liquidity or leverage the exposure. And a very interesting use case happened recently. So we worked together with Tempo Chain, the one coming from the Stripe team, and with a project called Deal. So that's a platform for contractors when they can earn some money on a side job. But thanks to the integration with Morpho that is powered with the RedStone feeds, the money can be put into action. So all of the contractors can earn an extra yield of their receivables, and therefore we can help to put, in that case, more than 1 million of contractors and offer them financial services in a single step with a single deployment. And it wouldn't be a good speech if we didn't drop the Clarity Act, which is probably the hottest topic, but we want to offer you a very interesting perspective on that. So far, the large institutions were pretty limited in how they can deploy capital, because you got ETFs only for the blue chip tokens, but with the Clarity Act, you'll be able to deploy capital across all of the thousands of on-chain products. But still, it could be a Wild West. Last week alone, there were like 3 DPEGs on the stable coins, so things that were supposed to be solid and stable actually lost value. So we help to discover also what assets are safe for investment and when the risk lies. And we, last year, acquired Credora, a pioneer in the on-chain risk analytics, and we are looking into how the assets are structured technically, what is the probability of a significant loss, whether the teams follows the good OPSEC practices, and if everything is fine, it's a very strong signal for the capital allocation. And that was the hypothesis, but actually it works pretty well in practice. Like all of the capital allocators are hungry for the high-quality data, how to navigate the capital deployments. When we integrated the ratings with a Spark protocol, we noticed within a few weeks that the amount of deposits has grown from 300 million to 1.4 billion, because all of the depositors have got the clarity how the asset is being structured, what's the actual probability of loss, and whether it balances the possible yield. So let me pass back to Marcin for the final thoughts.
So as Jakub mentioned, we're working across the board with various types of players within the industry on the blockchain side, allocators, on-chain asset management, asset deployers. That includes, for example, public blockchains like Ethereum and Solana, but also the private environments, including Canton and the ZK implementations across the board. That gave us this unique perspective that helps to create this full cycle support alongside acquisitions of tokenizethis, Credora, and there is more to come very soon. And now, in terms of the announcement itself, I really would like to share that we are launching the Navigate program, which supports financial institutions, asset allocators, and anyone looking to expand and go there on-chain with the knowledge that we've possessed over the past 6 years, including the technical capabilities, can join the first cohort of between 8 to 10 financial institutions that will be supporting to efficiently leverage that practical experience and history to deploy capitals on-chain in the most effective way. So the first cohort is onboarding now with the vaults expansion via on-chain intelligence. It's based on historical incidents such as Kelp DAO, hack analysis, drift, resolve, and so on. It's bundled with experience building oracles, risk monitoring, and the architecture. It covers best practices and recommendations on vaults usage, offering practical insights on asset trends, liquidity dynamics, and suggesting how essentially deploy and manage your asset on-chain, looking at how others are doing it proactively and what works, what doesn't, like where to deploy incentives, for example, to make sure that the growth is the most efficient. It leverages Credora platform intelligence, settled primary redemption facility that in 2 days Mike from our team is going to talk a bit more about, and OPSEC audits insights that Jakub covered. So if you're a financial institution or anyone willing to expand your exposure on-chain, please make sure to chat with the RedStone team. And right now we are onboarding the first cohort. The RWA decade is here, as you know. Standard Chartered estimates that by 2028 we can expect $2 trillion in terms of the market cap for tokenized real-world assets. BCG is more optimistic with the estimation of $16 trillion by 2030, and TD Cowen with programmability boost. So actually not only tokenizing the asset and getting the benefits of the tokenization itself, which is 24/7 accessibility, global distribution, instant settlement, and so on. It also includes the programmability for on-chain lending and borrowing and utilizing assets as collateral. Then we can expect this parabolic growth up to $100 trillion. And this is where we as RedStone want to help financial institutions to expand. And it's not going to happen over a week, over a year. It's going to be the whole decade. And we are ready to grow together with our partners and bring them over there. So with that, I really would like to invite all of you to join Navigate. And again, I hope you're going to make the most out of tokenizethis this week. Thank you very much. And now I would like to invite Sean from Newton. Oh, yeah, go ahead.